Welcome to episode 4 of my flower study series, and for today's episode we'll be studying the birds of paradise. Even though I couldn't find a real birds of paradise in Key but at least we have this one right here. So we are going to bead a flower that doesn't look like a flower. We are going to bead a flower that looks like a bird. I have a really bad sore throat due to the heat. I may not make sense, so my body feels a little bit weak, but I really want to bead. So let's begin our flower study right now. As soon as we stepped into this Airbnb, the first thing I saw was this birds of paradise artificial flower. And I thought, okay, this is really a sign that I should make this flower. I was quite worried about studying this flower because I don't think there's any flower shop near me. My other alternative was to go on a walk. I hope I can find birds of paradise there. But the weather is about 34 degrees, super humid. The weather is the cause of my voice right now. I have my journal over here. I really want to make more videos. My ideal would be once a week. I do have a job and I have to really plan out my time on the video editing and everything. Editing takes so much time. I think I spent like at least 20 hours just to edit the whole video, and that's why it takes me so long to post a video, and I'm really grateful for all of your support. If you're still watching this, don't forget to subscribe. Support like this really helps to grow this channel. So without further ado, let's go ahead and study this flower now. So after going through dozens of images and videos of the birds of paradise, I decided to segregate them into 3 main parts. I would call this part the beak. And this is like the main supporting petal that will be supporting all the other petals around it. And then there is about two blue petals over here. The yellow ones, I call it the wings. And I think I'm going to bead about 5 or 6 of the wings, probably all in different lengths. As you can see here, the beak, and I'll call this the wings, and then the blue part as, I don't know what I should call it. I think I've picked a tough flower to study, but this is something that I've been wanting to do, so it's alright. I just love how the colors are so bright. I love how tropical it looks. It doesn't look like an ordinary flower, which I really admire a lot, so I might have to tweak the color of the beak here. This is like pointy. To get this pointy tip, I will need to make the petal really long, really skinny over here, and it goes wider at the bottom half of the petal, which means I probably need to fold the petal in half to achieve this. I'm just hoping the beaded birds of paradise that I'll be making won't look 2D. I want to make it more 3D. They are slightly flat. I'm thinking of adding more volume, make the petals more fuller. I don't know if what I'm trying to visualize might end up looking good, but let's see if we can actually make them. For the leaf, so for the wings, I think I'm going to make it gradually longer. The back of the wings like slightly longer and then like slightly shorter as it goes to the front. It doesn't show over here. If you Google a photo of this flower, there's actually a white, like the tip, not the tip, there's actually white around here. Instead of all orange, I will also need to find a way to make it white and then orange. And when it comes to the blue petals, it goes over like a bridge, and then if you notice this 2 part, it does not connect, it does not meet. It's like almost, but it doesn't connect at all. We are going to bead a flower that doesn't look like a flower. We are going to bead a flower that looks like a bird. So if you guys saw my previous video of the beaded rose, you will know that I just bought these beads from Hobby Lobby. We'll be finally using these beads. These are all the colors that I have with me. I have 4 different types of blues, but from what I've studied, the blue petal is actually like a royal blue color. This blue might fit as for the leaves and the stems. I'm thinking of using a combination of 2 to 3 greens. For the wings, I really want to use this orange one again. because of how shiny it looks. But since we bought this one from Hobby Lobby, we are going to use it for today. There's also like a dark red lining on the beak of the petal, so we will be using this dark red. Those are the colors that we'll be using so far, so let's go ahead and make the beak. Before we start, here are all the materials that I'll be using, and I will be linking them in the description box below. Guys, I did it again. Oh my god. This will forever be a part of beading. Oh my god, I am so done. I experimented a bit with what the beak might look like. I'm so sorry, my voice is hurting a bit, but let me try to explain this. So this is what we'll be beading. It is a really huge petal. There is like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There is like 15 rows for this petal, and I've added 2 sets of bead extension to make the petals look sharper and narrower on the top here. This can be quite time consuming because it has 3 different colors, as you can see. But the whole reason why I made this petal is because if you fold the petal in half, it looks exactly like a beak. If you also notice, I've laced both parts like here and here, so they stay in place. So now let's go ahead and bead this beak. As usual, we'll be using 0.5 mm for this whole project, and I'll be using 0.2 mm for the lacing. If you have 0.3 mm, it's okay as well. The only difference is this is thinner than 0.3, but they both work really well for lacing, so don't worry about that. We'll be needing a lot of wire for this. I completely forgotten to measure how much wire I use, but let's estimate it by hand. I need more than this. So I've cut 241 centimeters of wire. I noticed some of you asked me for the specifics when I bead my petals, like the specific length. I usually literally just get this 100-meter wire roll. Try to bead as much beads as you can in your roll and just cut it when you're done beading. It will save you so much more time. But for this project specifically, I will need to measure and cut the wire because we will be changing lots of different colors today. Anyways, don't forget to just fold the ends here like this. I'm going to measure 5 centimeters of beads, but we'll be mixing 3 colors at once. I don't know what happened on my last footage, but I just remember being very sick. Sore throat really got to me, so I'm so sorry. I think I cut my fringe a little bit too short. This is 5 centimeters of center beads. It's going to be a bit challenging working with really long wire. Let's start preparing our basic frame. We are going to leave a really long top wire over here. So readjust and make sure there's lots of space at the top. I'm leaving about 8 centimeters for the top wire over here. Now with the other end of our wire, we are going to string a mixture of dark beads and lighter ones over here. So we have to take in consideration for the beads in order. Whichever beads that goes in first will be from the bottom to the top, and I want to have like the darker hues at the bottom, the medium green in the middle, and lighter greens at the top. There's no specific order to how you should do this, but I'm just going to estimate and just randomly picking up and mixing the beads here and there. So this is my combination, and I'm pushing it all the way. As usual, we're going to wrap 45 degrees at the top because we want a very narrow top. Just like that. Now since our wires are at the top, whichever order that comes in first will be the lightest, medium green, and then darker green. Grab the end of the wire, and now I'll be mixing in lighter hues with medium green. And then once your next combination is ready, again push all the beads down, and this is our next combination so far. We'll be wrapping 45 degrees at the bottom. Just continue wrapping for 2 more rounds, and then we'll be adding the extension beads at the top. I would say this tutorial is a bit more advanced or intermediate. As long as you understand the flow and the order which beads you want to put first, it's going to be really easy. It's really time consuming because you have to keep sliding up and down, and then wrap 45 degrees at the top, and then grab the end of the wire again and continue stringing and mixing up your beads. Before we wrap the 8th row, we are going to add 10 bead extension at the top wire over here. So this is 10 beads at the top, and then just wrap your wires at the top 45 degree angle. Push the wire a bit over here. It should look something like this. And then add more beads again. One tip, if you feel like the gap is a little bit too big over here, go ahead and reduce one more bead and then wrap it up again. So this time the gap should be smaller. Straighten your wire as always. We are going to fill up the beads again, wrap it over the extension bead for 2 more rows, and then we'll be adding another set of extension beads at the top. I would say this process can be very therapeutic if you're not rushing, especially if you really want to focus on the colors of the petal. It takes a lot of time and patience when beading using this method, but I can assure you, once the petals are completed, you'll find that the flowers come out even more beautifully because of how many colors you mix into one petal. I would usually have like 2 to 3 bead spinners at me, but I'm traveling, so I only brought 1 bead spinner and a couple of bead trays. It would be way faster if I have multiple bead spinners, so I can just spin it while I change the color of the beads. Okay, so one more round before we add our bead extension on the top. As we are on our 12th row, we'll be adding 10 more beads extension at the top, and then we'll be wrapping over it. So about 10 bead extension over here. At this point, it might be really difficult to keep your petals aligned or in place. We'll be proceeding with the lacing technique, so don't worry about this too much, just do whatever that you can. Now we are only left with 2 more rows and then we'll be done. Once you're ready, just wrap multiple times at the bottom. You may also extend your bottom wires like this and then cut off the edges. Leave a really tiny gap to tuck in. And there we go. Onto my least favorite part of beading, which is lacing. We really have to do this. I wouldn't skip this part because we will need to make sure that they are all in place properly. we'll be lacing across over here and then at the top over here. So we need two structures to keep our petals in place. Lacing is technically like weaving, so you basically need to weave in and out each row of your petal and patiently make sure that it stays in place. And now I'm going to lace on the other side. So this is what it looks like. This is the part that I have not laced yet, and this is the part that is laced. You can see that the structure is much more better compared to this side over here. I finally laced my petals. Now we will be folding them in half. Just fold them in half like this. And there we go. We have the beak of our birds of paradise. So I've made two of these because I just feel like one might be too lonely, so I just want to make two. And now we'll be making the red tip over here. So we'll be making a petal that covers the top like this. This is 5 centimeters of center beads. Prepare your basic frame. We'll be making sure we have lots of space at the top wire. Wrap 45 degrees at the top. $45 at the bottom. Wrap one more round again. 45 degrees at the top. And 45 degrees at the bottom. This time, we'll be adding extension beads at the top wire. About 15 to 16 beads at the top. Wrap one more round again. So after you have 9 rows, we are going to cut out about 30 centimeters of wire, and this time we'll be making a scallop like over here on both sides, probably around this line. So we'll be making a scallop from the right and then back to the left, and then we will secure it and then we'll be done. About this length over here. Insert your wire in between the rows next to it. And then bring your wires to the bottom like this. We will need to bring our wire in between the last 2 rows over here. Now you can see that the wire is in between the 2 beaded rows here. We're going to make a scallop on the left. Bring your wire down again. And then wrap multiple times at the bottom. So now we will proceed with lacing. We'll need to lace up over here and here. This is what it looks like after we have laced both sides over here. Again, fold it in half. It should be something like this. So my boyfriend's mom invited me to the butterfly park. We are on a side quest today. I'm pausing my work for now and we're gonna head to butterfly park. I hope I'm able to spot some flowers that might be interesting. I hope I can find birds of paradise there. It's a really sunny day right now. That's the butterfly park. Whoa. flamingo. Hi. Hello. Oh my god.
I don't want him to find my mouth. I realize. Look at this. Airplanes. I took a picture of it. Music is perfect. With a nice watermelon. Butterfly right over the turtle. Oh my god.
Back from the butterfly part, and this is what they gave us. It's a cute little butterfly. The weather is so hot, so I got something cool. Let's continue beading. Now let's use our orange beads. This time, we'll need lots of wire, about this long. It's about 150 centimeters. We'll be switching two colors back and forth a lot. We'll start with 3 centimeters of center beads. I will need lots of top space, so just prepare your basic frame, keeping in note that you'll need about 5 centimeters for the top. We don't need too much of the white beads over here. We want to make sure that it looks something like this. 2 white beads and fill in the rest with orange beads. 45 degrees at the top and then wrap 45 degrees at the bottom. And then we'll be wrapping over for 3 more rounds. Before we wrap over on the 6th row, we'll be adding an extension bead, about 6 to 8 beads, right there. Be wrapping over again for 2 more rounds before we add another extension bead at the top. I'm really not a fan of the bead quality from Hobby Lobby because you can see here they are both attached together and they are irregular in shape. The bead finishing is not as consistent. They have like different shapes at the top. The red beads are fine, I think, because they are glass beads. So we are on our 10th row. Just add the bead extension on the top. Place about 6 to 8 beads. This time I'm going to add one last bead extension on the top, probably about 6 beads, and then 2 more rows, then we'll be done. So after you have completed all 13 rows, don't cut this up yet. We are going to fill it with white beads. Not too much, just about this line. We'll be coiling the white beads up around like that. And then you must make sure that you're pushing the beads so they stay tight. And once you're done, wrap it multiple times at the bottom. Let's just go ahead and lace them across like this. I like how pop the color is. I don't know how many days it has been, but I took a couple of days off to recover and I'm back. While I was recovering, I was making all the, I don't even know what this called, and I'll call this the wings. I was beading all the wings all in different sizes. I have 5 sets over here and they're all using the same technique that I mentioned. You just need to add the extension beads at the top and you can customize how thick or thin you want. I really adore the sparkly version compared to the opaque one. I think it's because the finishing for the opaque one is not as consistent as glass beads that I have over here. The first set, this would be at the back somewhere over here, and then I have the second set, third one, fourth, and last but not least. So let's go ahead and bead the blue part of the flower. So for the next segment, we'll be beading these blue petals. I don't know what they're called. I think it's called, and then the blue part as, I don't know what I should call it. We'll be making 2 of these for one birds of paradise, and they are in different sizes. This one is a shorter version of this one. So we'll be beading and mixing in 3 different colors, as you can see over here. So I'll be mixing in these 3 colors all together. So yeah, let's go ahead and bead this. I will not be stringing these beads too much because we'll be switching 3 colors along the way. Just string in a good amount. So this is 12 centimeters of center beads. Prepare your basic frame. We'll be dividing the top center beads, and this is measuring 4 centimeters. We'll be wrapping in between these 2 segments over here. Just wrap over 45-degree angle and then back to the lower bead. Straighten your wire and then wrap 45 degrees at the bottom. You should have something like this for now. Somewhere about this line, you'll be changing to white colored beads, and then we'll be wrapping up over the top here with light blue beads, and then here with light blue beads as well, and white beads and dark blue beads. So it'll be like an inverted S shape. I'm measuring about 50 centimeters of wire, filling it up with white beads. Once you have your white beads, just push your beads here, 45-degree angle, and then back up to the top over here. Then we'll be switching it to light blue beads. And slide your bead up again at a 45-degree angle, wrap it over, and then straighten your wire. Then we'll be going back down. So over here, wrap 45-degree angle, be changing it to white beads again. Then just wrap. Instead of multiple rounds, I'll be wrapping just twice. We'll be beading this tip over here. Just go ahead and fill up with a little white bead and then dark blue, then white bead again. This part is kind of tricky, but we will try to make a loop over here. Pinch it and then twist the loop. We'll be making another loop over the first loop that we made, and now we'll be filling up the rest of the wire with white beads. Once you have something like this, go ahead and coil it around the bottom wire like this. You do not need to coil all the way up until the end, just about 1.5 centimeters in length. Then wrap it around multiple times at the bottom. Bend the cyan part over here. There we go. We have our blue petal over here. I'm just going to lace these 2 parts over here so they are much more stable and firm. We have our blue petal here. This is the smaller version of it. This is 6 centimeters of center beads. You take off 1 centimeter of center beads in the front and only wrap 1 single row and S shape over the top center bead, and make a loop at the bottom, fill it up with white beads, and you'll be done. We'll be making the leaves, so we will need lots of beads for that. Start off with 9 centimeters of center beads. We'll be making really big leaves, so you'll probably need lots of space for the top and the bottom. Then just prepare your basic frame and then wrap 45 degrees at the top and 90 degrees at the bottom. This is about 7 rows. I will be making a few other leaves and probably add an extension bead at the top to make it pointier. I'll probably make like 3 to 5 leaves, and if it's not enough, I'll just add it along the way. before we start assembling, I thought I'll show you a cool idea I just had. This calla lily a few days ago, and I find it so pretty. If you load up wrap the beads around the entire floral stem, it looks so elegant and pretty. I mix up a gradient over here. Bottom part is much darker compared to the top half over here. I love how this looks. The entire trunk of the birds of paradise is really thick, so I'm thinking of doing the same method as the calla lily one that I have over here, so it looks much more thicker. Let's start assembling. I'm going to bend my floral stick just like this. I just want to have like a better support for the beak. I'm going to break my floral stick into 3 parts, and then I will be attaching the stick over here like this. As usual, I'm using a separate wire to attach my petals. I'll tape it up with floral tape. So now we have something like this. This part is kind of tricky. I attached the red beak over here, and this time we'll be taking the biggest wing first. Try to slide through the middle over here, and then we'll be attaching the wing onto the stick here. I've attached the biggest petal over here, and then the longest and skinniest one here, all in descending order. So the smallest one is placed in the front. Now we are left with the beak. Should be somewhere like that. I think before I place the beak, I want to just finish the stems off first. That way it'll be easier to hide any edges like this. I really like how this one turned out. You can see here. I have some red beads here. I'm going to start coiling from the top. I'll have like some red beads mixed with green beads, slowly fade in into dark green. I hope you guys can visualize this, but the reds will be somewhere over here, and then we'll be fading the greens at the bottom. I'm going to start by securing the wire at the top for a couple of times before I start coiling. Something like this. Once you're ready, just push your beads and create some tension by holding it firmly, and then wrap it around. And as you go, just push your beads down again. I'm actively placing my thumb as a stopper, so I just use my thumb to close any possible gaps that's in between the bead. You can see as we go towards the bottom, it's turning green. Just want to make sure that it is really tight enough. I'm just going to coil without the beads multiple times over here, and then start coiling with the beads again, just to make sure that it's in place. I'm coiling without the beads here. Coil for like 3 rounds. Start pushing your beads again, and start recoiling where you just left. You notice I didn't wrap my floral tip all the way down. I'm just going to do that quickly and then finish it up with the beaded wire coils. So we still have halfway through, and I haven't finished coiling my beads, so I'm going to cut about 100 centimeters of wire and fill them up with beads. Probably not 100, like 200 maybe. I've cut the end here. Whichever bead that I slide first should be placed in the middle. I want to create a gradient in the middle over here, so I might add in like lighter green beads and then back to dark green, like this one. I prefer wrapping it with beads so much more than embroidery floss. You'll probably see me doing this method so much more often. Any beaders who doesn't like wrapping with embroidery floss like me, just comment down below because I think we can be friends. Okay, so we reach up upon the tip, and over here I am just going to leave about 1 centimeter of wire gap and wrap it around multiple times like this. I love how the gradient looks over here. Are you guys a fan of this method? Let me know in the comments below. Let's just finish it off with the beak below. We don't need to wrap this up because it will be covered anyways. I'll just need to find a way to hide the wires over here. I might have to fold it inwards. I need to use like 3 millimeters of wire, thread through the stick, and then tie a knot here, here, and here. You can use this wire. I did some thinking, and I think the best way is to secure the outer petal of the beak over here and just sew it together so it is connected. Need to make both sides left and right, probably like 3 sets at the side. I used the wire and sew like 3 parts over here on each side so they are more secure. I'm so sorry if this tutorial is pretty hard. It is my first time making this bird of paradise. All of my flower studies, I actually make the flowers as I go, so you're seeing me make the flower in real time. Probably refine it better if I have the same color for the wires. So after that, you can just slowly adjust petals to however you like. I made the other piece over here and attached them all together. I've forgotten to film the entire process of how I made it stand. I'm going to explain it shortly, so it took me a really long time to figure this out, but so far this is the best way that I could possibly made it stand. If you know another better way, please let me know because I can only play around with limited resources, but I'm really happy how this one turned out and it's going to be a gift for my Airbnb host. What I did was I used this wooden chopsticks that I have with me, and then I combined them together like this, but instead of gluing them together, I actually tied using the wire and wrap it around both birds of paradise together. And then I made about 4 to 5 points and like really secure them together so they are all lined up perfectly. All these wired points are how I attach them together. It's not actually connected. What connects them is by attaching both the birds of paradise onto the chopstick. And now I'm left with putting the leaves like over here. So I'll just add a few of them all over around it and it should be done. Found a little glass container and then I try to centralize the middle point and fill up the biggest rock at the bottom and just fill up all the tiny rocks in between. So now for the final step, I'm all left with putting the leaves around the base of the pot. So let's just go ahead and do that.